Hello, you've made it once again. So glad you could be here. And if this is your first time, then you've stumbled upon something quite unique. This is A Delicate Balance. I've been doing the show for almost 10 years now here in Charter Communication, Channel 14. And the purpose of it is to open up dialogue between people of different faiths and to kind of look for common ground and respect for each other, and to kind of steer away from the divisions that differences in dogma often result in misunderstandings, lack of communication, mistrust, violence, fear, and sometimes ultimately death. So that's what we're trying to do, is have a little bit more life, a little bit more sharing of what's working in your life. And maybe you might want to call in tonight, which we do every second Monday of every month, and that show is rebroadcast the following Monday. So now's your chance to call in and give us an idea of what's working for you, or you might have a question about something or a comment. We're open to just about anything, so give it a try, and hopefully we won't cut you off. I've been focusing on the book of Philippians of late, and the reason for that is I think I've been focusing also a lot in the last couple of years on Eastern religions, because I think fundamentalist Christianity far too often isolates itself from other faiths and doesn't learn from other faiths and doesn't respect other faiths. So I spent a lot of time looking at Hindu and Buddhist, Taoist thoughts and practices, but now I'm trying to bring it back home to Christianity and try to open up some dialogue about who Jesus is, what the Bible is, what does it mean to be a Christian. And one of the main things I usually focus on is the fundamentalist view of Christianity is often divisive and destructive, not only for the people that call it their own, but also to potential people who might otherwise put faith in Christ or seek a relationship with God, because if they're seeing too much authority in their leaders and too much pressure to conform, then it kind of aborts that precious journey that only you can determine with your idea of who God is.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why it seems like I'm kind of down on fundamentalist Christianity. That's because I am. So, having said that, I am reading from the Bible tonight, and unless there's so many calls that I just can't get to it, which would be fine. So you might think, well, if you're not into fundamentalist Christianity, why are you reading from the Bible? Well, probably because it's the best record we have of the early Christian church. Yes, there are a lot of doubts and questions about what has been created as canon. You know, what passages and writings were destroyed, burned, or kept away from being considered part of the Bible. You know, what was behind that thinking, and then therefore, if we do have this ultimate, finally there was a publication called the Bible, what is it about these particular books and passages that led to them being included at the expense of other writings? And so I really do want to keep that in context while we're reading the Bible, because I don't think if you're going to do a historical search, I don't think you can really get away from doing that. In fact, I know it's often, taught that, well, if you really want to please God, then you just got to believe everything in the Bible and don't question it, because if you do, that's not faithful, and God will be mad at you, and you won't get blessings, and He won't reveal himself to you because you're not acting in faith, because you're not believing this is his word. And I think that's all just very silly and unfortunately very damaging, because a lot of people buy it. And the problem with it is they don't therefore engage in their own personal development, their own ideas of God, their own spiritual, emotional, behavioral, intellectual development sort of gets roadblocked because they've been forced into thinking, I must accept this book as completely revealed by God, and if I don't, then I'm doomed. So I don't want to be doomed, so I'll just buy the whole thing. And by doing that, you kind of put yourself in a position where you're accepting somebody else's interpretation of what the truth is, and then you don't have a foundation to really build on yourself with your own idea of who God is, your own dialogue that you create with your Creator, and your own developing your own ability to hear, so to speak, the voice of God, because you've bought this other person's interpretation. Now, having said that, there is a place for honoring someone that you respect and you think, they live a fairly decent life, and they show signs of being free in their life, and they show fruits of the Spirit as far as being compassionate, loving, concerning, and live a life of sacrifice for the good of others. So someone like that you might, trust more than someone who doesn't have those qualities. And that's fine. I'm not saying don't trust other people. I'm just saying the place that's really going to release you and really help you to be strong is going to be based on what you discover for yourself with your personal, precious, intimate relationship with God, which can come in any number of ways.
Oh yeah, baby.
All right. How's that sound? Did you change the channel yet? All righty. All right. We're going to look at chapter 2. And I'm just going to read a little bit. This is from the New King James Version. Last time we were reading out of the Amplified, and it just got a little too convoluted. I like the Amplified for a study Bible, but I kind of found in this forum, there's too many parenthetical statements, too many embellishments, and when you finally get down to it, after you've repeated yourself several times, you're asking yourself, what was that verse about again? So we're going to try to simplify it a little bit. And at any point, if you want to call in and talk about something that you're interested in, that's really the point of the show, because 2 weeks from now, I'll broadcast a show that you can't call in on. So I have plenty of time for myself. This is your time. So Paul says, therefore, if there is any consolation in Christ, if any comfort of love, if any fellowship of the Spirit, if any affection and mercy, fulfill my joy by being like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord and of one mind. So this brings up an interesting idea, and I think it's part of actually what gets convoluted in fundamentalist Christianity, like most things. And that is this idea of being of one mind and one accord. Sometimes I think that the danger in that is like people think that they can't offer a different opinion, a different perspective, have a different view. They feel pressured into conforming to what the pastor or the leadership are presenting, and therefore don't really engage in their own development of either themselves or actually could be a word from God who's looking to communicate a different perspective on an issue. And because there's this forcing idea of being of one mind and one accord, that different voice isn't allowed to be heard. And often some people, go so far as to, punish people for certain views. And, you can't be a part of our church, or you can't be in the choir anymore. No, we're not going to let you speak on Sunday because you might say that thing that we don't agree with you about. And I think it would be far more healthy if there were a plethora of ideas that were allowed to be presented as a reflection of the diversity of human experience,